And it's all about the kids. Let's start the game over. Back to the way things were. It's all about the kids. So put your family first. Let's start the game over.
All right. We back, the new intro in the building. Shout out to Miles Dixon for always putting it together. Today is January, Dr. Martin Luther King Day. Let's take a moment to look back and appreciate what a legacy can bring. Like, man. If we had 50 Dr. Kings, somewhere, somehow, somebody would be in the corner still hating.
No question about it.
You know you're going to bring it.
Man, it's 50 of y'all. Y'all should be. You should already have, right? Mm-hmm. So that's, you know, we was listening to him today, and he was talking about the other America, you know, and, you know, really to really get into it, what an extraordinary life. Author, speaker, books, advocate, you know, activist, whatever you want to call him. But those that were behind him and under him multiplied the effort of his leadership. What happened is going to take us right into this conversation. What happened is that we stopped passing down, right? We got to a place where we wasn't passing down. Remember, in the early 70s, 75% of the black dollar, was circulating in the black community. In the late 60s, early 70s. Black business. Now, today, you're asking for permission to do black business. Isn't that amazing? Because we wasn't passing down. So today, we're going to really get in. Hello, Dr. Heather, how you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Brother Dave?
How you doing? Everything's well.
Good. So we're going to get in. We got a guest in the building, Mr. Marlin Franklin. We had a vacant seat over there for Larry Charleston, who couldn't make it today. It's a blanket seat over there for him. We're going to remind him during this taping that seat was over there for him. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get into a conversation about fatherhood and collaboration. And so before we do, Heather, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. You know, I'm always happy to hear when men exercise their voices and they provide the wisdom that we need to keep going. So I'm excited to be in this studio with not just my sister Monique, our engineer, but with these three handsome and men full of wisdom. So I'm ready to go. Let's go. Awesome.
Brother Dave, how you doing?
No, I'm doing pretty good. Yes, I concur with Dr. Heather. Just nice to be among the blessed. Yes, the blessed.
Good. Well, Brother Marlin, how you doing, brother?
What up, though? I'm good. I'm doing great today. Day off of work so that I could actually do some things that I enjoy doing, serving the community. So it's a great day to be alive.
Brother, you always serving the community.
No doubt, but I don't get days off of work today.
Right. So we most definitely have to take a look at, you know, just some of the things. I don't think a lot of people know you, Brother Mark. I think a lot of people know of you, but I don't think a lot of people know you, your heart, your position. So if you can just give us a quick rundown of who you are.
Yeah. I'm just a brother from the city of Detroit, born and raised. Went to the United States Marine Corps, served my country, came home, became an entrepreneur, had several different endeavors. I screen print, I make clothes, anything you see me wearing, I made myself. But I'm the father of six, a blended family of six. I got 5 grandchildren, beautiful grandchildren. I have 2 daughters, and and I have two sons that passed away, unfortunately. That one at 16 and one at 20. Kind of really changed my whole life in terms of what I thought was important and how I wanted to spend my days, getting up and doing things. I went from being an entrepreneur to working in a nonprofit, and it has been the most rewarding, truly grateful thing that I've ever done in my life. Being able to serve the community and the people that I see every day, it's been way more rewarding than any entrepreneurial experience I ever had. I work for a nonprofit now. I serve in the community. I'm the PTO president at my grandson's school. So I'm at a point in my life where I want to be happy with how I wake up and how I spend my days, as opposed to chasing a dollar, which is what I did for so many years as a young man growing up in the city of Detroit. So when I meet brothers like Calvin and different people in the community who are doing the things that I've always been passionate about, it only seems right that I need to make those connections. I was at just real quick, I was at a seminar about how to start a nonprofit. It was by a professor at Wayne State University. And he said, before you start a nonprofit, why don't you find one doing what you're doing and work with them, and then see if you need to start a nonprofit. And that just made so much sense to me. So I like to network and collaborate and meet with people who are doing things that I think are beneficial for my community. So when I met Cal, I'm just grateful that he even brought me in the room to have a conversation about being able to serve.
Amen.
So that's me.
Blessings. Thank
Right.
you.
So it's exciting for me and for us, because the collaboration is going to be our Thursdays, where we were bringing fathers together anyway, and so we're collaborating with Bring Detroit and Off the Chest. And so tell people about Off the Chest, bro.
Okay, so the nonprofit that I work for is Brilliant Detroit. We serve families with children 0 to 8 years old, so expecting mothers of the children in 3rd grade. Our focus is on making sure that every child can read at grade level by 3rd grade, and we do that by bringing programs and resources to the communities that we all live in. There are 18 hubs that we have right now throughout the city of Detroit, where we bring what Brilliant Detroit does is they purchase residential homes, and then they turn those homes into community resource spaces where families can have access to quality resources in their own neighborhoods. It's called, our focus is trying to create kid successful neighborhoods. So we bring all of the resources that are downtown, midtown, all over the country. We bring those resources to the neighborhoods where people live so they don't have to leave. And one of those programs that we do is a program called Off Your Chest. It's our way of creating a program to engage the male communities in the 18 communities that we serve. Off Your Chest is a space for men to come together, share about our experiences as men, as fathers, as brothers, as community members, and try to make a difference and try to spread that word far and wide so that we can change the stereotypes and the things that are affecting our communities in a negative way.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah. So, in our work with Good Fathers Only, we come to the table with some of the same things and conversations because of the very same thing. Good Fathers Only, who was in a situation that we were in when we started Encourage Me, I'm Young, right? Good Fathers Only was a program inside of Encourage Me, I'm Young. So what we're going to do is come together at Off Your Chest and have those conversations, collaborate. We're talking about the pancake breakfast already and doing some things that is impactful. But I really want to hold this space. I'll give you a time to use one of your research therapist things that you
And so I know we were having this is a little bit off topic, but it is relevant to what we see happening in our communities now. So there is a movement and an outlook on what's happening with women in our community, what's happening with men in our community. And part of that process is the age that we're in. And so what I just wanted to share a little bit about is that we are in a time, we're in an age where that synchronicity and synergy is driving people from the inside out. And so our sense of community stemming from our spiritual journey, stemming from who we are meant to be, all of that is being moved around in a lot of people, and they're coming from an unconscious state to a conscious state. And in that direction, what's happening is the balance. We're in this age also where the balance is trying to be restored. So where it's not a man against a woman or a woman against a man. It is, how do we come together and balance out the things that we're experiencing? So we see that in relationships, we see that in the workplace, we see that in the community. And where you see women being elevated is not to cause an imbalance, it's to help bring balance. Because in order for that balance to be restored, we have to be able to appreciate one another. And we have to be able to appreciate what we're bringing together and what we create together. And so when we talk about collaboration and fathers in collaboration, we're also talking about how collaboration is drawing people in for a intended purpose and for the season that we're in. We need to see more people coming together, and we do see more people coming together, more groups coming together, more people directed in purpose, seeking out and fulfilling that purpose, so that who they are in the world today can begin to emerge and heal some of the spaces where we're out of balance. And so when I'm excited about hearing men to come together and to work together, because there's always women in the picture. And so we're here to help anchor what men have been called to do. And so again, that's about bringing the balance for both of us, so that our families are stronger, so that our communities are stronger. And it can't happen if we don't do that as a collaborative mindset, but also as the men understanding their valuable role in where all of this is taking place. Women need men, both as husbands and fathers. Women need men to help structure and bring order to our communities. We all have a particular place to bring our gifts, talents, and abilities. And so it's exciting to see it come together. We can focus on a lot of negative things, but in truth, it's really what's in front of you. And what we see happening is the change. And so we have to keep acknowledging that change. And so today, more than any other day, is a great time to be able to have this conversation, because that is ultimately the dream that Martin Luther King talked about. He didn't talk about separation, he talked about unity. And so when we talk about collaboration, the ultimate goal is to be united and move forward as one. So where those spaces are taking place, especially here in this conversation, is really exciting to hear.
Thank you. So, one, why to you, Brother Marlin, why is fatherhood so important to you?
That's an easy one. Fatherhood, I'm a man, first and foremost. And when I first became a father, fresh out of the Marine Corps, my son, when he was born, it changed my life, because I didn't know what it really felt like or knew, or what it was like to actually be responsible to take care of someone other than yourself, right? And as the years grew, and I had more sons, I have 3 boys of my own, and then I have 2 daughters and a son with my wife. And my 3 boys, I kept on, after every one, I kept trying, because I wanted a girl. I wanted to have that complete set, right? Mm-hmm. But being a man, I feel like I have responsibilities, one and foremost to my own children, but then to just children in general. I was a rambunctious young man when I was in middle school and high school, and the music and the televisions I feel like, I bought into a lot of the stereotypes that have negatively affected our communities today, and it gave me more responsibility as a father to try to counter and balance all of the things that are the things that are infiltrating our parenting. We have a lot of negative influences from the outside that are infiltrating and making it difficult for how we want to parent at home, because those negative influences are so easily accepted. So it just gave me more drive to want to, be more involved in my kids' lives, to make sure that they understood what I thought was important, because I was raised by my grandmother. My mom passed when I was 13, and my father didn't live here in Michigan. So I was pretty much raised by my friends' my friends' fathers. I seen what they were doing and how they were. I respected them because of how they parented their children and gave responsibility to certain things. And it kind of was ingrained into me as I got older and started wanting to be a father and became a father.
Yeah. See, that is just one of the many things that people miss. We miss the voice of the black father, right? Because you cut on the TV, you'll see the cowboys. We've quoted a bunch of Caucasian men. When we had our movies, the Rudy Ray Moores and things, we quoted a bunch of foolishness. See, the distraction, I'll give you.
For sure.
The solution, I'll block it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we begin to participate in that, like you said, as a culture, from TV to music. Okay, now look at our girls.
Mm-hmm.
Now look at what we see. We'll give you that. That, when I say fatherless, a lot of times there's a pushback instantly. You say fatherless. You know what I mean? And then there's a pushback. But more importantly is effort, presence, those types of things. And so seeing the perspective that you have, where you have put your hands to the plow to apply to the community, is just a beautiful transition. Fatherhood has a tendency to transition us. Brother Dave, what is fatherhood really mean to you? We've had this conversation 1,000 times, but since you've been involved in the community, since you come home, and what does fatherhood really mean to you?
Well, fatherhood means to me setting a standard, setting a present, being a present in a child's life. Children come into the world and I won't say they come empty-headed, because they have an innate quality within themselves to be who they are. But fathers are the people that's supposed to inform them, develop them, cultivate them, teach them, inspire them, motivate them, and continue to contribute to them even as they move into the next phase of their development. And in that standard that you set, then they can edit it accordingly, because, again, they have their own unique qualities. They have their own character. And so you give them a foundation. There's no house that stands without a foundation. So you have to allow that child to, as you use the word collaboration, you have to collaborate with that child to begin their foundation. So a father and fatherhood is all about the collaboration for development. God was our father. He sent his son, and he began to develop men, as he called them, fisher of men. But he had to develop them. They were adults, but again, spiritually, they weren't as strong. So I think that when you become a father, as Marlin said, you become a father, it sets a whole new precedence for you, because now you realize that which was instilled in me, now I have to tweak it accordingly, but as it was instilled in me, it gave me a foundation to work with. And then at that point, like soldiers, you have DIs. And as those DIs set a standard so you can prepare to go battle. So that's the same in a life that we live. There's always going to be some battle ahead of us. So it's about preparation. They prepare you. And many people, I'm sure you ask, you think my child should go into the service?
I get that all the time.
And you go, well, let me give you what the service is about. First and foremost, it's selfless service.
Yes.
It ain't about you. As a father, it ain't about you. It's about your child.
No doubt.
Then you set them up for integrity. You set them for respect. You prepare a foundation for them. You teach them by hierarchy, so they understand there's always a hierarchy that sets order. Because again, once you get out in that field, you need to have some order in your life. So I think fatherhood for me has always been about the preparation, getting the child ready to be ready to battle in life. And that doesn't mean the battle has to be a terrible thing, but they're definitely going to encounter some giants, some mountains and storms. And if we properly prepare them as fathers, then I think they can emulate that to be a father themselves.
No question.
So, in how we transition collaboration, for years I've said, in order for the child support system to change, all men had to come together to change it.
Yeah.
It's not going to change because one person, because it's $1 billion industry. Too many people have benefited, and it's not governed. So it has no attachment, really, to who, what, when, where, and why, as far as when it comes to child support. About 5 years ago, I wrote a thing called Time Support. And we were all in this room in Wayne State, and we were all talking. And a lot of us, we're good at being individuals, but collective is very hard. And so we were having this conversation, and I put together this whole thing, laid it all out for everybody in the room. It was people from all over the state, right? Put it on the wall. Time support. The same impact that you go after the process for money should be the same impact you should go after if I don't get to see my child, and if I'm being denied access to my child. Why? Because, excuse me, my sinus just decided it was going to be crazy today. Because it's very difficult for me to have to deal with somebody that has complete control and is backed in the control and supported. So it's very difficult for us to come to the rationale. That's where we have to come, because parents should collaborate on the success of the child. In this society, we were valued. This is why we talk about the value of fathers. The reason why I wanted to have this conversation, the reason why I said and asked the question, is because what's truly the value of fathers? I'm gonna ride this till the sun go up. What's truly the value? And so if you don't know the value of what I bring to the child, then, and you always have a way of saying what I'm not doing and get support, then that would be a problem. But if we collaborate on the success of the child, then you don't need the system. So the deception, the breakup, the divorce, the anger, all of that helps destroy the child. One of my guys does video, and he lost a child to suicide. Child died by suicide. Now, once the child was gone, he got all his information where he couldn't have, right? Because that wasn't the case. Don't tell dad, is what he said to her. Now, if we collaborating, this kid might be still here today. Instead of it being about power, the initiative, right? We have lost far too many children because of the absence of fathers. The communities reflect it. Doesn't matter what community, When you remove the father, you destroy the child.
No doubt about it.
The system knows that. But we bought into these things that reflect upon damage. So the good part about us coming together, because Dave always asked the question, is this going to be it at events? What's that question again, Dave?
When are we going to come together and work together? Because it's always the same. We talk good, like you say, individually. We all holding our turf, if you will. It's like drug dealing. This is my turf. But this is good. But at the end of the day, are we going to come and work together? If I help you, you help me, we can move this mountain better. But most of the time, and I think it's not been a presentation you ever brought me to, I didn't ask that question. This sound good in theory. You done been to a lot of meetings and the men say, oh, we going to do this. And then we disperse and we all over the place again. When are we going to come together?
And that's what makes today so significant. Because his word, my word, your word, Larry's word, our word is condensed, is brought together in action. That's why this is so important today, right? And so, Heather, did you have a question?
I had a thought when Marlin was talking about. It put an image in my head about the community father, and on my block growing up, and I hadn't mentioned this, but on my block growing up, our block club association was made up mostly of men. Mm-hmm. And so when something happened in our neighborhood or on our block, they got together, whether it was planning something good or trying to help support a family that was maybe struggling or going through, they still got together. And so they didn't make it a public thing that a family needed help, and they got together to help that family, whatever help they needed. If somebody was, behind on their mortgage, or if somebody had lost their car, like, they pitched in and they supported one another. And I think about that now, how much they were community fathers. Like, you couldn't get too far out of order on my block. Mm-hmm. If one of those fathers, one of those men were not correcting you. And, you, as a kid, you're feeling like, oh, well, you can't tell me what to do. And they'll say, oh, yes, I can. And it wasn't something that you could challenge. Yeah. You couldn't challenge who they were to you, because these were the people who saw you every day walking back and forth to school. I felt safe going to school every day. Mm-hmm. I felt safe going to the store by myself, walking around. I felt safe. And I think about now how many of the kids don't have that sense of safety. Mm-hmm. And the things that they face or that they see just trying to get to school or come from school every day. Where are those community fathers that have been raised in that space? I think it's another way to look at collaboration, and your place in your community really is just part of being the eyes and ears. And even after my dad retired, he was part of the Brothers on Patrol. So he was still watching out for other kids and other people's kids. And he was way past retirement. But that's what he got up and did every morning and in the afternoon, making sure kids got to school, to and from school safely.
Go ahead, Mark.
We have grown into a very apprehensive community. 'Cause just as you were saying, when we were growing up, I was just sitting up here thinking about it. I didn't want to miss the name. So, like, when I was in school, we had Shep and Twin, who were our hall monitors. They were the men in our school who kept us in check, right?
You talking about, what school did you go to?
I went to Oak Park.
So them my guys.
Yeah, okay.
Shep, I grew up with
you grew up with
township, baby.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, them my guys.
Yeah, so those were the men in my school who kept us in check. You know what I'm saying? But then in my neighborhood, I had Mr. Moon, I had Mr. Tyus, I had Mr. Hicks, I had Mr. Thurman, who were all fathers who got up, went to work every day. They cut the grass, right. They made their boys pull out the trash, So all throughout my life, even though my father, who was present, but just I didn't live with him, so I could, I see him all the time, and then he moved away to California, but I still had men in my circles, no matter where I went, that I could see positive examples of. And I didn't know it at the time. Mm-hmm. It took me to become a man, and then I started reflecting on the things that I've seen those men doing. The reason me and Mr. Larry click so well, I say all the time, he's my unofficial mentor because I've never asked him to be my mentor, but I look up to him and I watch a lot of the things that he does and how he carries himself, and it just motivates me to not want to be him, but just be a better me. And I see a lot of things in him that I aspire for. So that's why me and him click so well, and we were able to put Off Your Chest together. And it's something that I'm really passionate about, is just inspiring men to be more positive in their communities, in their circles, because if there's ever going to be a change, that's how it starts. Kyle was saying, it's like there are so many different entities that are trying to destroy our family, destroy our manhood as black men in this country, and it's only up to us to kind of find those inspirations that lead us on the positive track as opposed to the negatives, because the negatives is easy to do. What they say, it's easy to do wrong, it's hard to do right. So I love Mr. Larry. I wish he could have been here today, just because every time I'm around him, I try to make sure I give him his flowers. He's raised over 14 children. I think it's higher than that because he has children of his own, but he's also fostered children. So he's been being a father to communities for, I think he's almost 70 now, so 50 decades or 5 decades.
Right. Marlon, I do have a question for you, if you don't mind.
Yes.
So as you were growing up and engaging in men and forming that idea of what manhood was, what were, like, if you can give like 3 things that you saw in common with the men who you encountered, what 3 things did you say, okay, yes, this is what manhood is, and this is what I want to have in my life. This is who I want to be in my life too. You know what?
The first one I had already wrote down, and it's consistent, right? The men in my neighborhood, the fathers in my neighborhood were consistent. They didn't switch up. They went to work every day. They made sure that their family was in a position to thrive as well as they could. And they were present. So they were consistent and they were present. Even though they worked, those days off, they wasn't out hanging at the club. Not that hanging at the club is a bad thing, but they were at home. You seen them, Those are the 2 things that I can think of off the top of my head, is that they were definitely consistent and they were present. But then they were also protectors. The one thing, my wife, me and her, we go back and forth about it a little bit, because sometimes, it was just the other day real quick, it was raining outside and we were both carrying bags from Myers, right? And I got my bags in the car before her, and I jumped in the car to start the car, and she was like, "You're not going to come and open my door and get me out the rain first?" So, but just the men in my community were all protectors. They were, I learned about walking, making sure that a woman walks on the inside, right. And again, opening and closing the door, just those things, like even just opening the door at the different places that you're going, not just the car, but any place that you're going. So consistency and present are definitely the top 2, though.
Thank you.
It's interesting you said that, because those are the qualities that set you apart, especially when you talk about the value of showing a woman she has importance. Now, that might have slipped you when you said it. See, my mind goes straight to positive. Oh, he was just making sure he warm up the car. He was going to leap back out and catch the dough, you see. Right. But before he could say that, boom, she had already addressed it. That's just my thing.
Yeah.
But those things are important, and all these little small things that are so key in developing a bond, a connection, to give people a level of security. Because one of the main things that I've read through some professionals who really indulge in couple counseling is that woman wants a man to be trustworthy. Well, Calvin and Heather already know I do gender because gender is what it is. We have to distinguish. But I think that it's important that both parties recognize that they can be trusted, and that they're going to exercise a level of faithfulness to the cause. And as you said, in the neighborhood, the men were faithful, they were consistent. They did what they did because they only could operate what they know. But there were some things that we here 3 can walk away with, knowing that this is what a man did. He went to work. He came home. He kept order in the home. He didn't even have to be in the house. The classic line was, "Wait till your daddy get home."
Right.
You see, so that said his presence had power It had meaning. And you were like, okay, well, I need to get my act together before he get home. You see? So it's like with my son. I'm all the way in Iraq, and my buddy, he's gone to glory now. And he said, man, his mom was talking to, said, I'm going to call your daddy. I said, man, what kind of power you got that you can be all the way in Iraq? And he straightened his act out. Because my presence meant something, because I put that in him. So, I grew up with the same type of men, but somewhere along the line, that got away from us. That we became more self-indulgent. I was telling somebody the other day, there are two types of selves. There's the self-preservation and there's the self-gratification. We have to understand what's important. We need to preserve ourselves, but it shouldn't be about ourselves. You see what I'm saying? God himself was always about giving. He said, I didn't come here to be served, I come to serve. A father's a servant.
Just real quick, Cal, I mean, they say parenting doesn't come with a manual, but I really feel like we need to write the manual at this point, because there's a lot of things that traditionally have gone to the wayside. It's parents want to be too much of friends with their kids as opposed to being parents now, and that's having a negative effect because the kids are losing respect. And right. I got my granddaughter, she's 15, my son's 13, and I have a 6-year-old grandchild that all live. They don't live with us, but they might as well because they at our house every day.
Right.
Now with the way technology is and all of the things they have, everything is why, and I find myself doing a lot of explaining to my son and my grandson and my granddaughter. But that's just so that they understand my perspective on it's okay for you to have an opinion, but let me give you my perspective with all my 52 years of living so that you understand, right. So that because you're still going to make your own choices, and that's what I'm understanding with my granddaughter. She's a 10th grader at Cass Tech. And so she's at a level of her life where she's going to be making a lot of her own choices. So when she asks why, I don't mind explaining my why so that it's really clear to her when she starts making her choices. But the way that these children are being parented now is way different than how we were parented. So that's why I said, I'm like, we need to write the manual, so that we don't let those things that were that we learned or that was instilled into us continue to degrade and fall away, and nobody's doing it anymore.
Well, you gentlemen hit it on the nail, right? Part of the perspective that has caused the harm was men, right? And to understand that means when Dr. King was referring to other America, and we refer to ghettos and things like that. So when we mention these things, neighborhoods and the hood and the different names for the number man and the things, you're in a construct for where you have to operate in order to have anything in this country, right? Listening to Dr. King today, it's almost the same for employment. It's listening to him back then, it's almost the same for the violence, right? Listening to him back then. So essentially, the construct, the opportunities and the laws and the different things that were in place, we allow money to become our God. Mm-hmm. So where things was about the culture, money and position and education, right? Because I always ask this question in this conversation, if and this might be heavy, but if we're talking culture, because we're very quick to say men are not protective, that's a lie. We're very quick to say black men don't come to the rescue. That's a lie.
For sure.
As a matter of fact, we've created disposable men when we call them goons, and we put them in position to die for nothing. Right? We've created disposable men when I say, I do something, but I'm going to call my cousin to come sacrifice his life, his freedom. Right? 75 to 80% of the men in jail are in jail for a specific reason. Generally, money, women, and then ask. Because of my protective, because it's not culturally raised properly, where you have to ask questions. You're being abused. I'm gonna call my cousin. I done heard it a million times in the barbershop. Don't you call nobody that you don't want to lose. Right? In an abusive situation, right, the statistics bear out, you hit me, I retaliate is worse. Right? So we got to get to a place where the valuing, this is why it's so hard for me to value the male, because it's, when you look at the statistics, if the black woman is the most educated, then why is the black boy the least educated? And that comes into the value of the male. When we launched Reading is Life, we knew the power of men teaching boys, being in the position to instruct boys to read, because they get to see someone like them. So when we go through all these little things that have to do with men and fathers and collaboration, this is a good thing, because just like I said at the table, I just think it's important that we move that way. And it doesn't matter how many of us, as long as we continue to do the good and move that way. I want to say, to me, you are the solution. Healthy fatherhood is the solution.
It's a solution, absolutely.
It's the solution, right? What's wrong with parenting is the devaluing of the male. So it started at the boy, then I devalue the man, then I devalue the husband, and I most definitely devalue the father. So the kids don't have order. So if it's two economies, it's her economy and it's his economy. When you do that, it's so much space in the middle for the devil to operate on our children. And working together is most definitely the most important tool. There are a lot of men who become fathers with very little knowledge on how valuable they really have become. I was a man, then I became a father. Completely different. What you just said. When I became a father, I wanted
way more. I needed to know. I needed to learn. You know, and so that's so at Brilliant Detroit, one of our pillars is family support, and that's really where Off Your Chest was created, is because there was no space for the man. You know, we didn't have any place to get it off our chest, because, you know, from the time we open our eyes to the time we close them, we're dealing with a lot of stressful things, you know, just to be the man that we want to be. And there are not many spaces available for you to get it off your chest, for you to absorb knowledge from brothers that are like-minded. You know, those spaces are few far in between. But one thing I do say is today those spaces are proliferating. They're starting to grow a lot more, like the brother was saying. The challenge we have is that there are little small pockets of those types of places that not enough men know is out there. So that's why coming together in these spaces like this is going to really improve that effort, because the stigma of black men aren't taking care of their children
is a lie.
That's dead. That's gone. That's not today.
In fact, we should be in charge nationally of fatherhood. And in some spaces, when you have guys like Dr. Kenneth Braswell, you've had guys like Sean Dove, you have guys like Robert Smith, you have elite guys who are fathers who are having these conversations, right? And then you have many other pockets of fatherhood, you know, and people are territorial, right? Mm-hmm. Right. But the one thing I've always seen was in us coming together, structuring a fatherhood union, so when new fathers come into play,
it's structured. They
got a place to go.
For sure.
But so I just want to inject this. You know, Brian Allen, one of the media entrepreneurs and mogul, he said, "He who controls the media controls the world."
Yeah.
So with all the different pods, if we will, groups out there doing their thing, you don't see a blast on the media about us coming together. You know, I mean, I don't follow Facebook like I should, but you see a lot on all those social media formats, right? But when you see an image on TV with the buffoonery, I was watching the other day the Upshaw. Just, what is this about? So you got a father, actor Michael F., who's acting like a buffoon. You have two women who controlling everything. You have a father who doesn't want to be. He's saying it with his mouth and he's doing the work, but the image that's projected as he exercises his character, he acts like a buffoon. So he seems like he's not responsible. So you got this kind of perpetuation of us not being united, us not working. So it's us in these small pods that's saying something, but we need something to blast the media. You know, if you notice when a song comes out, so I don't really like that song, but they blast it and they blast it and they blast. Ooh, that's a jam. See, we need the same thing. We need a mass movement that every time you look on the screen, there's something positive about us. Most of the time, well, my baby daddy, he ain't my daddy. You know, these negatives. We need to change it. What's that that movie that Snoop Dogg was in and Tyrese?
Baby Boy.
Yeah. You know, people who are responsible, you know what I mean? That's the image. I meet a lot of females and they talk about this stuff like that's the stuff right there. No, it's not. Yeah. And in the end, the young man gets shot. You know, this is not it.
Today we're in a much better position to kind of make them moves. You know, there's definitely the mainstream media that we will never control. You know, the Rupert Murdochs and all of them, they got that on lock. So the Rothschilds and the Trumps, you know, they got the mainstream media on lock. But you know, because we have like this podcast right here, right? There are media opportunities that we have as black men to take control and change that narrative. You know, we just need to have more understanding with each other about how we want to move and make those changes. You know, everybody, you know, there's the challenge with everybody want to do it themselves, you know, but when you find those like-minded circles, that's how me and Cal came together, you know, it's because we have like-minded interests and nobody's trying to be the king. You know, we want to serve the children. We want to make sure that men are men and are able to be fathers. So we have a like-minded understanding about how we want to approach it. So if Cal want to take the lead and I just fill in, and I'm cool with that, because long as we can accomplish the mission, which is making good men better. That's right. That's what's most important.
Man, that you said a handful of making good men better. Wow. That is awesome. I want to, before we get, you know, because we got like 14 minutes, 14 minutes to really hone in on what you both have said, right? What's one of the first solutions you'd like to apply to the community that you're not doing already? Because you already
Oh man, I don't know. You know, that's a big one. I think the solution is in the tools to make men more compassionate and open and minded enough to listen. You know, because the men our age, we get it. You know, we trying to tap those teens, 20s, 30s. You know, the what do they call them, the Gen Xers, and now it's the Gen Betas, man, you know, generation Betas that's coming out, you know,
the AI babies,
all the other alphabets in the world.
You know, you know, we definitely got to start early with the kids, just to kind of plant those seeds. Like we were, you know, we knew that you couldn't go next door to Mr. Hicks' house cutting up, because Mr. Hicks was gonna get in your behind, and then you was gonna have to go home and deal with grandmama too. So, you know, if we can get those kind of things back, I think we'll be in a better place. But you just hit me with a hell of a question that I'm going to take some time to think of and come back with a good answer.
Brother Dave, you can answer.
Well, you know, it's interesting because part of the concept. I remember I was only 20 years old. I came back home on leave, and there was a building, a big old building right off the freeway at Highland Park. And I said, man, if I could make a one-stop shop, on a military base, it's a one-stop shop.
Yeah, everything.
Everything is there. You got your basics before you get to rolling. You get your extra training, and then you get to perform what you learn. And then there's all these other little parts in there, the community, your NCO clubs, your officer club. I didn't do the officer club no more. But, all those things, that's a one-stop shop. Your medical.
Barbershop.
So my whole thing was always, when Tyler Perry bought that studio down the line, I said to myself, man, that's the one I'm talking about, God.
Yeah.
If I could just get me one big base,
right,
and then people could have a one-stop shop. I know if we can't do it because of all the pods, out here at Selfridge, that was my base, you can come out there and get everything you need.
Yeah.
You have our groups come out there. You have our men come out there. You have the women do their thing out there. So we're providing the one-stop shop, so there's no excuse for where they at. You ain't got to look that far.
Wow. That's powerful in itself. You don't have to wonder where they at. You know where they at.
Yeah, some people are building pods. Actually, I've seen several families build.
I seen a couple buying some down in Atlanta. Somebody bought a bunch of acres of land.
And they put their families, right, and everything was right there for them to get to. So that is I have something I'm going to release this year. It's called The 10 Best Ways to Raise a Family. Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily, it's like, you could say the 10 Commandments, you could say whatever, but here are 10 things that you must do for the success of a healthy family.
Okay.
The number one thing is father. The entire family has to value the father, right? Then the mother, right? It has to be, the parenting value has to be present, but you have to speak how important the father is. Every family needs to know that the father is present. Infant mortality. When the father is present, infant mortality is pretty much non-existent. Everybody has to know the father brings importance to the cognitive mind. Every family has to know that the father being present at the time of birth takes stress and things off of her organs and her body. The father being present during the pregnancy allows for her body to be in a relaxed state where she's not under pressure and things like that, right? The father is most important to the vocabulary. The father doesn't talk baby talk. The children learn to speak correct English because the father is the talker. He's the guider. He's the presenter. And ultimately, what Dave likes to talk about, he's also the navigator of the social and emotional learning. So kids that go to school, that have their fathers, generally are not the ones that are emotional. They're not. A study was done by Stephen Baskerville. This is another thing that's important. Stephen Baskerville got this whole book, but it was a study where they watched schools all throughout Michigan. And the number one thing that they recognized immediately was when the father dropped the kids off, the kids get out the car, walk in, non-emotional. When the mothers drop the kids off, they're walking them into the class. The kids are usually emotional. Now, we'll say, oh, that's so sweet, whatever. But the process of what that's setting up in the boy and what it's doing. When the father is not present, what does it do to the girl? What does it do to the boy? So the father has to be the intricate piece to family restoration in making sure that we govern our children better, right? Because you're not really in competition with anything when the children don't have really both health, because we're going to deal with some things. We're going to deal with some emotional things. We're going to deal with, right? One of the other pieces that's in there, and I'll leave it on after this, is take your kids off of video games.
Yeah.
A kid should not be able to play video games until they're much, much, much older, where their cognitive space is not being shaped. We're giving kids too many videos, all of that stuff early. We've seen a kid 7, 8 years old with a phone.
Yeah.
Was talking to somebody just the other day, the son, they bust in the room, son, 13, 14 years old, porn.
For sure.
Gone.
Too easily accessible.
Too easily accessible, right? So you have to have some things, some structure in there for that boy. So that's just a couple of things to really, and I get into it deeply, but that's some of the things that for me, that we have a brand of parenting, that this is a piece that will help us set the tone for better parenting for the children. When we evaluate it, we have a ready-made. I was sharing this with Heather before. You have a ready-made excuse as a woman. It's already there. Something go wrong, his father wasn't there. Something go wrong, well, his daddy don't. Something go wrong, oh man, you got to remember that, men, all they do is, right? So all of those things are attacks that is being assisted by the system that's headed toward Marlin's way, David's way, my way. We are doing the same and the opposite now. The men are so emotional, so we're constantly saying the women ain't this and the women ain't that. And so we're reciprocating the division. When a woman of her caliber who understands, who gets it, who prays, is ultra important. But if she thinks that she's more important than me, you're not going to have no togetherness, because you don't know my value. You just think my value is a paycheck, penis, and protection, right? That's it. I'm only supposed to do those three things. I come to the table with 9, 10, 12 other super qualities as a father, as a man, right? And so we don't have that information. And so we have slogans. Boy, bye. Men ain't no good, right? We have these slogans that has been infiltrated in the same process that it affects the boy, it affects the girl. Our daughters deserve better. So all this work that we essentially have done, we've done over the years, we've done, and mentoring and things like that, that was to protect women, girls, mothers, grandmothers, daughters. If we are entitled and allowed to raise the boy properly, he will be opening up the door to let his woman in the car. He will be supporting his woman when she's speaking, or she has a vision, or she's supportive. We will be patting our woman on the back because we understand our value. But when you take the value away from me as a little boy, it's very hard for me to grow into a man, husband, and a father. And that's why 63% of black males have no children. Because we're constantly under this negative siege from everybody. And so that's why our work is so important. That's why all my boys are husbands and fathers. That's why we're winning, because we're men. We're fathers. We were men. Now we became fathers. We understand the power of being a father. And listen, I've said it a million times. You can put it in the bank. You can take it to your mama house. You can take it to your grandmama house. When I became a father, I'm the closest thing to God, in my opinion, because God made sure, right? Because the name Father, right, was not even in existence. It became Father. And the reference of how powerful I become when I become a man. So this is why the attack is so severe on the boy. Because if the boy can't read, it's going to be very hard for him to be a good man, husband, or father.
Yeah.
Marlon, tell the people where they can reach you at.
I'm out here. I'm on Facebook, Marlin Franklin on Facebook. But you can find I'm the digital navigator for Brilliant Detroit. So you'll find me at a technology hub in the district. I'm in District 1, so the Detroit Public Library, my Brilliant Detroit hub. I'm on Instagram. I don't really get down on Instagram. I'm an old guy, so I stick with Facebook and keep it at that.
That man said Shep and Twin. Shep and Twin. My uncle Butterrow was the football
And
coach.
Butterrow, yeah. See, I didn't play football, but them was the three men that kept us in check at Oak Park.
Butterrow put more kids in black colleges than any man you could think of.
No doubt. Great guy.
You can reach me at FMA, I'm 4 Men About Men, on Facebook. And you can reach me at DEROMADROM7 at yahoo.com.
Dr. Heather.
You can reach me at yourinspired with a D, yourinspiredjourney.com, or reach me by phone. Call me direct at 313-759-7855.
You can reach me at kelvintman.com. I'm booking speaking engagements, schools, offices, corporations, men's groups, fatherhood. Here to start. I wanted to have this conversation today. I'm excited that we were able to have this conversation as we are about to sign off. But I just want y'all to know that, you know, when we say put your family first, all the work that we are doing is order. So when you talk to me, you have to come at me with order, because I'm coming and I'm presenting to the culture order, right? Without a boy, the boy must become a man. The man must become a husband. We're not having children as much as we think that we are. We're not producing healthy children. We got too many children in the foster care. We got too many children in the juvenile. What is the common denominator for both? They're fatherless. Majority of the children in the foster care and majority of the children that's missing fathers. Black boys are 14 times likely to be kicked out of Head Start. Boys overall are 4 times likely to be kicked out of Head Start. So it is a universal thing. And so it's so important for us to understand why we do this work. But like I said, going forward, we're going to have more and more interesting guests. Thank you, Marlin, for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
To sharing with us about the collaboration. And listen, again,
Pancake.
over and over. March 1st, we're going to have this pancake breakfast. We already got a couple people on board. We're going to do this thing. We're bringing the community to grow it, as I always wanted to. Again, I find it hard on this end to not say I love you, because I've put in the work. We put in the work. We love you. We appreciate you. And we thank you for tuning in to Put Your Family First podcast, 4-time award winning. I want to make sure I clear that up. And so thank you for this opportunity again to come before you and show mad love with women and men collaborating and having conversation. God bless you and encourage me. I'm young. Peace.
Together forever.
It's all about